the south-to-north water diversion project originates at Yangzhou in Jiangsu province. It extends as far as Tianjin and the Jiaodong Peninsula in the north. A major issue for the project's designers and builders was keeping the water free from pollution throughout its 1,000-kilometer journey. To this end, they would have to improve the fragile ecosystem along the route. On the middle route too, pollution control was a major consideration. How could the 30 billion cubic meters of clean water in the Danjiangkou Reservoir be kept free from pollution? How could sewage and sand be prevented from entering the biggest man-made reservoir in Asia? They faced an unprecedented environmental challenge. Whether or not it could be accomplished would be decisive to the success of the world's largest water transfer project. December the 29th, 2002. Just 2 days after work began on the eastern route of the south-to-north water diversion project, worrying news comes out of Yangzhou. "50 tons of fish and shrimps have been found dead in Lake Shaobo. They are victims of water pollution." The lake is only 10 kilometers away from the Jiangdu Water Control Station, designed to channel water northward from the Yangtze River. In Tianjin, everyone, from the government to ordinary people, is alarmed. They will be supplied with water by the eastern route. But will it be safe to drink, considering that it's so filthy, fish can't survive in it? Tianjin has a long history of water shortages. Even so, people are extremely worried.
田地同志们来说，你调来对这个东线的植物缺乏信心。就你调来水以后，我的这污水，调到田军，不但不能再解决水资源短缺，还增加了水污染。
The people of Tianjin have good reason to worry. Zhu Zhibian from the Huai'an Water Conservancy Design Institute clearly remembers the time he went with a group of Tianjin citizens on a study tour of the eastern route. It was one of the most embarrassing experiences of his life.
现在我们船走上面没有什么，当时船走了以后，下面全部是一条黑龙，一条黑带。当时那个天津那个专家就说：“哇，这个水这么脏，我们是不要用这个水的。”
The place they had gone for their investigation was the inner canal on the project's eastern route. The inner canal is the name given to the Grand Canal as it passes through the old town of Huai'an. Throughout history, many distinguished people have been inspired by the idyllic scenery along the Grand Canal. Emperor Yang of Sui wrote, "Fish leaping from the water and birds crossing the sky." And Emperor Kangxi of the Qing dynasty described the scenery thus: "The Huaihe River is wrapped in mist while birds can be heard chattering in the trees." Until the 1970s, water from the Grand Canal was still potable. But the rapid progress of the Chinese economy changed that. even before work began on the south to north water diversion project. The canal's water was classified as level 5, the lowest and dirtiest on the official scale. The pollution isn't only in the inner canal. All along the 1,000-kilometer eastern route, the problem is more or less the same. The eastern route draws its water from the Yangtze in Yangzhou, Jiangsu province. Then, it sends this water via the Grand Canal and the rivers parallel to it, as far as Shandong, Hebei, and Tianjin in the north. It passes through the economically developed but environmentally fragile Jiangsu and Shandong provinces, the worst polluted regions on the lower reaches of the Huaihe River. The diversion route passes through many other bodies of water on its way. Most of them are already polluted.
东线这个运河的整个水质啊，如果用监测断面这个监测的结果看，大概黄河以南地区啊，当时有36个监测断面，达到我规划就是地表水3类规划这个水质目标来讲，只有1个断面满足，其他的都不满足。特别是山东省这个境内啊，那个运河的水质啊，基本上都在5类或者是劣于5类。咱们知道劣5类的水基本上是没有任何功能的，就不能用了。
Water pollution represents a huge challenge for the water transfer project and for the whole country. After 20 years of fast economic development, China's water environment has suffered widespread devastation. In July 2000, an attack of blue-green algae rendered the water in Lake Taihu unusable overnight. In July 2004, filthy water from upstream turned a 133-kilometer section of the Huaihe River black. Every year, over 40 billion cubic meters of filthy water from industry and homes directly enter rivers and lakes across the country. However, nothing can be allowed to delay the water transfer project, so the central government steps in. As early as 2000, the government concluded that the success of the water transfer project was dependent on controlling pollution and improving the ecosystem along its routes. It drew up a strategy based on economizing on water, controlling pollution, and protecting the environment. Rapid economic development inevitably takes its toll on water quality, especially in the post-industrial period. Lake Biwa in Japan was once known as the Lake of Prosperous Lives, but fast industrial and economic progress turned it into a lake of death. Biwa used to be the main water source for Tokyo and Osaka, two cities with a combined population of over 14 million. But after the Japanese economy took off in the 1960s, the lake's water quality deteriorated fast. The water became black and smelly, and red tide and outbreaks of algae became regular occurrences. The whole country was horrified. In 1972, a comprehensive pollution control project was launched. It took 30 years and $18.5 billion to restore life to the lake.
最初の30年ぐらいはあまり効果が見えなかったんですよ。 ですから本当に効果が見え始めてきたのは1990年代25年ぐらい経ってからですよね。下水処理場ができて管路が出来上がってで汚水が入ってきて処理がなされてというのに10年ぐらいかかるでしょう。でそれで実際に汚濁の負荷が下がってきて水質に目に見える効果が出てくるのにやっぱり10年ぐらいかかる。
Water is more easily polluted than clean. A massive cleanup is the task facing the South to North Water Diversion Project. Water is generally graded into 5 levels, with level 5 the worst. Level 3 means the water is potable, but achieving this standard all along the project's routes within 10 years seemed like an impossible mission. In 2013, the eastern route would start transferring water. It was the deadline for pollution control to meet the requirements. It's a race against time. The South to North Water Diversion Project is unprecedented for the challenges it entails anywhere in the world. In terms of the difficulties that have to be overcome, nowhere is more challenging than South Four Lakes on the eastern route. Yet, not so long ago, it was an idyllic spot. South Four Lakes is the largest body of fresh water in China's north. As the name suggests, it's made up of 4 lakes. Weishan, the biggest, has the Grand Canal running through it. The idyllic image of Lake Weishan has been consigned to history. In all, 53 rivers empty into its 30,000 square kilometre area. These rivers are lined with small straw pulp paper making mills and chemical factories, which have for years been pouring untreated wastewater into them, and hence the lake. Each day, 540,000 tonnes of industrial wastewater and 140,000 tonnes of domestic wastewater enter the lake. Fisherman Yang Cheng Chao still shudders at the thought of how bad the situation got.
从那个沩山岛的西部，都是那个褐色的、黑色的水，一直冲到我们扬州去，整个这一片全部是黑色、褐色。那个快艇开过去后面有那个白色的气泡，那个泡沫，一天都下不去，所有的鱼虾蟹都死亡了。那个鱼虾蟹也没有，连鸟都没有了。所以说当时这个地方寸草不生。
But according to the plan, the lake would be the largest storage reservoir along the eastern route of the diversion project. Controlling the pollution in South Four Lakes would involve all 53 rivers that emptied into it and nearly 20% of the land in Shandong province. To make matters worse, there was no natural exit for the filthy water to be discharged. As the natural storage reservoir for the eastern route, South Four Lakes would have to have its water quality improved to level 3, the potable standard. This would mean purifying a 10,000 hectare expanse of water.
当一位领导同志问我，你看怎么样啊？这件事情，我说几乎没有可能。 没有可能的事情也要做呀。
Shandong had no alternative. They started with the paper mills. Over 80% of the pollution was industrial wastewater. 80% of this wastewater came from the mills. The provincial government raised the discharge treatment standard by a factor of 4. This drastic measure sent shockwaves throughout the industry. For many mills, it meant bankruptcy. Opposition to the new requirement was strong. Li Jifei is the deputy manager of a paper mill. He was horrified by the new measure.
这个压力是当时我认为这种压力是不可想象的，就根本没有前景。
At a series of meetings, the environmental protection experts argued repeatedly that dying due to the pollution controls was a possibility, but without them, dying was a certainty. Li Jifei was convinced that he would have to persuade his boss to shut down their most profitable straw pulp line. He managed it. He also got him to install a $1,000,000 wastewater treatment facility. But that wasn't the end of Li Jifei's difficulties. The equipment was not up to standard. The $1,000,000 investment was wasted. Li Jifei was feeling more and more frustrated. But then they received some startling news. The state-owned paper mill in Jining had been forced to close down. If even such a well-established business had to shut down, the fate of small paper mills would certainly be sealed unless they could make a technical breakthrough in pollution control. It seemed that the future was gloomy for all the paper factories.
我给领导讲啊，我说最极端的情况啊，就是8年之后，山东的造纸行业真的垮掉了。他们的给财政的贡献大约有10个亿。我说舍不舍得这样做？当时领导给我的回答非常坚决，不要讲是10个亿，再多也值得。
While the paper mills struggled to find a solution, the authorities were also busy. Liu Bo and his team were conducting research on an advanced wastewater treatment method. The biggest challenge was removing the large quantities of lignin in the water. Lignin is very slow to degrade.
打个比方，我们放一块馒头，或者放一块肉，放到这个土壤里边的话，1天2天它就被降解掉了。但是你要买一块木头，那可能1个月、2个月，甚至是1年、2年，它才会被降解掉。
In their lab, Liu Bo and his team worked frantically. They finally got an idea, inspired by fungus.
真菌在降解木质素的时候呢，它得把木质素打得足够小，然后呢，它才能吃进去。它的方法呢，就是它分泌一种酶，然后的话呢，在这个氧气或者是过氧化氢的作用下呢，逐步变成小分子，这样它就可以吃了。
With this discovery, the final obstacle to a technical breakthrough in wastewater treatment was removed.
了，再待上一段时间，然后这上面的这个上清液就比较干净一点了。这个泥压滤
熬了这么长时间，才算是成功了。
Liji Fei's factory could now be equipped with proper reclaimed water facilities. The treated water met the new standard. Fish could live in it. The paper industry in Shandong had finally completed a major structural adjustment. By 2013, the province was home to 5 of China's top 10 paper businesses. Like papermaking, other industries in Shandong have been fighting to stay alive in the battle against pollution. Major pollution control initiatives require financial support, but the province may not be able to afford it, and some businesses, despite using all their resources, have still failed to bring the water they discharge up to the standard required. Time waits for no man. The south to north water diversion project is making rapid headway. On September the 27th, 2005, the middle route begins crossing the Yellow River. On December the 31st, 2005, the Jiping main channel on the eastern route is successfully tested. The deadline for bringing wastewater treatment up to the required standard is approaching. Shandong province is concentrating all its economic resources on the task. In 2004, Zhang Jian and his team from Shandong University came to South Four Lakes. Their objective was to find an effective way of removing the residual pollutants in the water by treating the surrounding wetlands. This was the last task to be completed in bringing the pollution in the area under control.
当时接到这个人工湿地的任务的时候呢，认识到它是一个挑战。因为大规模的人工湿地的应用呢，在国内和国外呢还没有一个特别成熟的一个经验。
Hundreds of millions of cubic meters of water a year needs to be purified. The standards are very tough, and nobody can be sure that they will succeed. The pressure on Zhang Jian and his team is enormous. In the course of the next 3 years, they finalized several plans. Each involves building water treatment plants among the wetlands. The tests are all successful, and the water is of a standard significantly above what is required. In May 2013, Zhang Jian and his team return. This time they will be checking the results over a much wider area. Is the method of purifying the water by focusing on the wetlands still proving effective?
哎，老师发现了三棱草。
哦，三棱草。
这是水草。
三棱草也是挺水植物的一种，那么它一般是在水质情况比较好的情况下才能生长，这也是我们在湿地的出水端才发现比较多的三棱草的一个原因。
这个用完一个。
The area where the water enters the lake has been turned into a 14,000 square kilometre wetland. In this vast area, up to 200 million cubic metres of river water a year can be purified. Elsewhere, work is progressing to deal with another huge challenge: urban sewage. Xia Qing is an expert on wastewater treatment. He has been working on pollution control for the Huaihe River and Lake Taihu projects.
一般下水道里来的水没这么厉害，你看很快就澄清了。
As a highly experienced specialist, he's been entrusted with a highly difficult task: the overall planning for pollution control on the eastern route of the South to North Water Diversion Project. He and his colleagues have advanced a very bold plan: to establish 127 wastewater treatment facilities in the cities along the route, which will treat between 80 and 90% of the wastewater discharged.
南水北调工程江苏段建设的阶段，正值沿线苏中、苏北地区工业化、城镇化加快推进的时期，所以在治污、环保方面面临的压力还是很大的。我们先后投入了110亿元，完成了14个治污单元、102个治污项目。
9 wastewater treatment facilities will be built in Xuzhou, a highly industrialized city in the north of Jiangsu, where as much as 400,000 tons of industrial and household wastewater is discharged every day. Purification of such an amount is possible, but what can be done with it after it's treated?
当时提出的规划内容叫做清水廊道。 就是说，这条干渠要变成清水廊道，而廊道的意思呢，就是所有的污水呢，即使制到非常高标准的水，也不进，要调走。
So, the clean water and wastewater go their separate ways. The wastewater will be collected and treated in another place. In all the cities along the route, a system is being put in place to collect wastewater and treat it so that it can be recycled. In the city of Huai'an, a highly complex system of pipelines is being laid. This system will replace all the sewage discharge outlets along the canals. Sewage will be collected and channeled away via the newly laid pipes to a treatment plant. After processing, the water will be diverted via an independent canal to the sea. Along the way, it will be used again. The new sewage discharge system keeps growing. Ultimately, it will be a 20-kilometre long underground network connecting all the old sewage discharge outlets in the city. The recycled water system in Huai'an begins operation in December 2011. From now on, the sewage discharge from the city and the pipes for the eastern route of the South to North Water Diversion Project will go their separate ways.
The inner canal, once the cause of so much anxiety in Tianjin, has been transformed.
我就跟天津同志说，我说你们组个团去考察一下，考察回来你们就有信心了。结果他们就去看了，看了回来以后，果然信心大增。后来在所有的会议上，天津同志都讲，东线的水我们要。
Compared with the eastern route, the area on the middle route requiring a pollution control effort is much greater. Shiyan is the nearest city to the Danjiangkou Reservoir. Of the 12 rivers that empty into the reservoir, 10 pass Shiyan, and all of them are polluted. The city is bisected by the Shending River. Its water used to be so black and filthy that the local people described it as ink. The city is also strategically important. The work starts with industry, cutting the pollution off at source. Of all the local businesses, the yellow ginger trade will be the hardest hit. All the processing workshops will have to be shut down. Yellow ginger is a medicinal herb, but its essence is very difficult to extract. The well water in places where it is processed has turned yellow. However, no technology has been developed to treat the wastewater from processing ginger. So, in Hubei, Shanxi and Henan, anywhere along the middle route associated with ginger processing has been shut down.
就是一件非常难办的事啊。我们统计，光中线水源区就关闭的企业就超过了1000家，啊，连中线的东线总共有2000多家企业，因为南水北调提前关闭了。在这个过程中啊，当地也做了一定的牺牲。
On its own, shutting down these polluting businesses is not enough. In order to be thorough, the old industrial city of Shiyan begins dredging all its old sewers. Meanwhile, it starts building a new pipeline network for the wastewater from treatment plants. In all, 174 wastewater treatment plants are built along the middle route. Also, the refuse processing plants have increased in number from 1 to 98, with the result that most towns are now covered. The pouring of concrete for raising the height of the Danjiangkou Reservoir Dam begins on March the 7th, 2007. Ultimately, the plan is for the reservoir's capacity to increase to almost 30 billion cubic meters of fresh water. It will be the source for the middle route of the water transfer project. Keeping such a vital water source safe requires that a serious problem be tackled, that of water and soil loss. % of the reservoir's water comes from the Hanjiang River. The river passes through the Qianba Mountains, where there are many ravines and steep slopes, and the soil layer is thin. Heavy rain can easily give rise to mountain torrents, debris flow, and landslides, all of which will turn the river water muddy. In February 2006, the State Council approved a plan for controlling pollution and protecting the water and soil at the Danjiangkou Reservoir. Ankang lies on the middle reaches of the Hanjiang. Here, people are carrying out the terracing of slopes as part of the south to north water diversion project. The plan is to terrace any slope with a gradient of less than 25 degrees. This will effectively reduce the amount of soil washed away. sloping fields with a gradient above 25 degrees will no longer be farmed, but transformed into woodland. By March 2014, after 8 years, the 43 counties in Henan, Hubei and Shanxi provinces have brought soil erosion under control in an area of 17,000 square kilometers. This represents 80% of the task. Now, sloping green fields and clear waters are a feature of the landscape. The protection of the Danjiangkou Reservoir goes all the way to the source of the Hanjiang River. Today, Jiang Yunhui is going into the mountains. As the leader of a village forest protection team, he makes this journey every spring and autumn. Jiang Yunhui has come to prune the trees. They were planted several years ago when the government introduced the policy of returning grain plots to forest. Most of the grain plots on mountain slopes have now been transformed. Jiang's job is to check that all the villagers have complied with the regulations and that the trees they planted have survived.
看主要检查这个树苗，树苗的成活率，再一个看看它这个有缺了苗的，回来通知农户去补栽。
Each trip takes him at least 2 days. The places he must visit are scattered over the mountains. The place where he lives, Hanyuan in Shanxi, lies at the headwaters of the Hanjiang River. This small stream eventually becomes a torrential river before losing itself in the Danjiangkou Reservoir 1,000 kilometers away. Tang Wangqiao, the closest village to the Danjiangkou Reservoir on the project's middle route, is enjoying a bumper harvest. They don't grow grain, but a cash crop, honeysuckle, which is used in traditional Chinese medicine. Honeysuckle can dispel heat and toxins from the body. Its strong roots give it the ability to withstand drought. It's a beautiful plant that doesn't need any chemical fertilizer or pesticide. So, the soil is free from any nitrogen or phosphorus residue which can enter the reservoir via rainwater or the air. Pollution in the reservoir area has been radically reduced. Orchards and tea plantations have sprung up where once there were fields of grain. People from the headstreams of the rivers to the areas around the reservoir have made huge sacrifices and worked hard to ensure the purity of the water. They've received support in their efforts from the national government and the provincial authorities. The monitoring facilities at Jiangdu Mountain maintain a 24-hour watch over water quality.
海巡动6次动2，海巡动6次动3到上游。
A combined exercise is being conducted at Sanjiangying, where water is sourced for the eastern route. It's organized by the Yangzhou Water Board to test the response in the event of a sudden water quality crisis.
各海民警注意，现场正部署为右栏，海巡动6次动3，海巡动6次动4到上游。
From Jiangsu to Shandong, all along the eastern route, a warning system is in place. It guarantees an emergency response should a crisis occur either on land or on the water. Yang Chengchao is back fishing on South Four Lakes. The 53 rivers supplying the water to the lakes had all been restored to life by the end of 2010. The fish and shrimps have returned. In just 10 years, people here achieved an ecological miracle. By 2012, all the water tested at 36 points south of the Yellow River was up to standard.
在通水之前呢，今年的1到5月份，我们环境保护部组织了各省对流域进行了水质监测检查。东线的45个断面，经过监测检查表明，总体水质稳定，在1到3内。
November the 15th, 2013, the first phase of the eastern route goes into operation. Water from the Yangtze River, flowing via the inner canal in South Four Lakes, and after crossing man-made green wetlands, reaches the parched north of China and the Jiaodong Peninsula. After the flood season of 2014, the middle route also starts transferring water. The two routes, each over 1,000 kilometers in length, are an impressive feature on the map of China. The water they convey carries with it the image of a harmonious society and a beautiful country of green mountains and blue rivers.